Hello everyone, I am Erika of beadingschool.com and this is the start of our Tiny Workshop Week. During the upcoming days, the Tiny Workshop Week, I will bring you 4 tricks, 4 details of jewels to include in your winter tail collection that we are working on at the moment. The Winter Tail collection is the newest theme of the Beading School Academy, and it was curated by my good friend and one of the best beadwork designers and teachers in the world, Heather Kingsley-Heath. If you haven't heard yet about the Beading School Academy, but the name and the promise of beautiful jewels and lots of learning together sounds intriguing, then make sure to check it out and become a student at beadingschoolacademy.com. But now, back to the tiny workshops. In the academy, you receive tutorials for bigger signature jewels and can take part of weekly workshops. And one of the signature jewels of the Winter Tail collection is the INVIERNO that you can see now on my hand camera. And this is what we are working on at the moment. I just released the tutorial yesterday, and it is part of the student memberships of all our yellow, turquoise, and fuchsia Beading School Academy students. As you can see, the pendant consists of 2 parts, with the upper part being sewn down on the velvet cord with 2 tiny stitches. And then I attached a super fancy metal clasp full of cubic zirconia to the ends. I made it into a choker style tight necklace. By the way, all the components, the clasp, the velvet cord, and everything that you need for the necklace, they are part of the fuchsia level Beading School Academy membership. So don't worry, you will have everything on hand that you need. And today I will show you how you can attach the clasp to the end of the velvet cord and even decorate it further with some Preciosa Suvan rhinestones if you would like to. I highly recommend it because that way you can even hide the stitches on the front side of the velvet cord even better. What I really like here is how the velvet cord slides into the clasp, creating a dark background, and then it makes the cubic zirconia inserts of the clasp even shinier. And what will you need today? Well, besides your beaded motif, that can be the INVIERNO, but also anything else that you have on hand, you will need a 7mm or 6.5mm wide velvet cord. The length should be the circumference that you need plus 2 inches, about 5 centimeters. You will also need a nice clasp that you would like to attach and a few Preciosa Suvan rhinestones. The ones that I am using are 2.8mm big. These are the tiniest out of the 3 sizes that you can get. Everything besides the Beading School Academy theme box is also available in the Beading School bead shop. So if you don't have a box yet, or would you like to have more of this, then I also highly recommend to visit the bead shop. And now, what you need to do to have a nice velvet necklace and a fancy clasp like this. So start by taking measurements and measure that how long your desired length is. As I said, you need to add 5 centimeters, about 2 inches to the length, because the cord on the back side is doubled. And I recommend first attaching half of the clasp, then taking measurements again to adjust a little bit if you need to, add the other half of the clasp, I recommend proceeding attaching the beaded motif so you can sew it exactly where you would like to, and it will hang in the middle. As for the thread and needle, I have my usuals prepared. So it's a size 11 tulip beading needle, and I'm using my black satin Fireline in the 0.12 millimeter 4LB size. I recommend using a thread or Fireline that blends into the color of your velvet cord as much as possible. And today I'm going to use it doubled, and I even prepared a knot. I tied the end. And let's get started. So today I'm going to use this wine red colored velvet ribbon. I want to prepare a separate choker for some other beaded pendants, and I think this color will look amazing with the sparkle of the fancy clasp. Regarding tools, I have tiny scissors here that I use to cut the Fireline and the velvet cord, and I have a handy measurer where I see the inches and where I see the centimeters too. But on one side, it will get doubled by 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters. So I folded the velvet cord, and I start by pushing my needle at the part where it's folded close to one side. The knot will go inside the ribbon. It will be hidden by the ribbon. And here the velvet cord will rest on top of the clasp, but here I will push it down into the middle. I will attach the velvet cord where it's folded to this part, this metal here, where two of the petals of the clasp meet. I can actually also just open the clasp, and I will work just with half of it so you see better what's happening. What is super important is this part goes to the outside. This is where the clasp closes. And then with my thread hanging from where the velvet ribbon is folded, I bead through the clasp from the inside to the outside, and then I bead back over that metal that is running at the part where the two petals meet. Then I bead through the ribbon one more side, the edge of the ribbon. I bead outside the clasp. I bead back to the clasp on the other side of that metal. And I repeat this for a third time too. So I push my needle through the edge of the ribbon. I bead outside of the clasp. I bead inside to the clasp on the other side of the metal. And I push my needle through the velvet ribbon in a way that my thread will be hanging in the middle. And this way I can seamlessly get to the other edge of the ribbon. So again, here I bead through the ribbon and bead out of the clasp on one side of that tiny metal element here. I bead back to the clasp. Then again, I push my needle through the velvet ribbon, through the edge, outside of the clasp, back to the clasp. And for the third time, through the velvet ribbon, outside of the clasp, back to the clasp. So one joint is done. One place where I secured the velvet ribbon to the clasp is done already. I love the look, how the wine red of the velvet ribbon shows through the clasp itself. And I will attach the velvet ribbon to the clasp at one more point here at this part opposite of the place where the clasp closes. To do that, I want to bead through this smaller part of the velvet ribbon a few times, always making a bigger stitch on the inside of the ribbon because it will be hidden. And then a tiny stitch on the outside of the ribbon. So only a tiny, tiny piece of the fire line will be visible. I'm not even sure that it's very visible on the camera. I repeat it one more time. I take a big stitch on the inside of the ribbon, and then a small stitch to get back in between the two ribbons. Now I'm more or less at the point where I want to attach the ribbon to the clasp again. So I push my needle upwards. And now I bead through the clasp here, and then back through both layers of the velvet cord. I repeat it one more time. I try to come up as close to the clasp as possible so the fire line will not be very visible. I bead through the clasp itself, and then I bead down again. So super secure. The velvet cord and half of the clasp is attached. Now I want to add the first rhinestone. I will add 2 rhinestones on both ends of the ribbon. First, one at the very end and one halfway. So either you will want to measure, or if you trust your eye, then you can also just go by how you feel. So I want to get to the place where I want to add the first rhinestone. I made only a tiny stitch here because I don't want the fire line to be very visible. And then I can actually measure it this way. I fold the ribbon, and that it will be halfway exactly. And that's where I want to come up through the upper layer of the ribbon. I pick up one of the tiny rhinestones And then I go down through both layers of my ribbon. I adjust the rhinestone so it lays nice and flat, and since it's held down with 2 threads because of the double thread, you don't have to repeat the thread path. Now I want to make sure that the end of the ribbon will not fray, so I want to make a few tiny stitches back and forth at the very end. And this is where I really feel that I want to hide the stitches because there will be more. So it could be visible, especially if you have a lighter colored velvet cord. Again, I try to make as tiny stitches on the front side of the ribbon as possible. And then when I'm done, then I pick up the rhinestone and I sew it down with at least 1 stitch. So it takes a little practice to get the stitches nice and to make sure that the rhinestones lay nice and flat on the ribbon. And also, as you can see, I did not measure precisely, so there is now a bigger gap between the first rhinestone and the clasp than in between the 2 rhinestones. I don't mind it, I just need to make sure that the other half of the clasp is done in a similar way. And to finish my thread off, I like to tie a knot. And then I bead in between the 2 layers, coming up through the back layer, and I cut my fire line as close to the velvet as possible. So that's it. You need to do this on the other half too, and then you can attach the pendant. So thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. And of course, please make sure to show me your creations in the Beading School Club. See you soon. Bye bye.